Right now, joining us to continue our special coverage and provide insight and analysis on this is someone who knows what it's like to be in the crosshairs of Robert Mueller's team of investigators, someone who provided witness testimony throughout the investigation, Michael Caputo. Great to have you back on Newsmax TV, Michael. And also Brett Winterble is standing around and joining us as well. We'll join us with some questions here in a moment as well. So, Michael, wanted to get your reaction on what you heard there from the special counsel, and if there was anything surprising to you about what he said today.
I guess the only thing that I didn't expect him to say, which he did forthwith, is say that he was not going to appear in public, didn't want to appear in public before the committee. And I think that pretty much seals that deal. I don't think he's going to be subpoenaed. I don't think they're going to try and drag him someplace he doesn't want to go. I mean, I think that does put a capper on this thing. And in fact, I think this is kind of a pivot point for everything that's going on in regards to this investigation in the House of Representatives. I think this pretty much lays it out there. If you're going to impeach, get moving on it, because it's not going to come from this side of the ballpark.
Yeah, and Brett, one of the things, guys, that I think is interesting too, Congress is not in Washington, D.C. right now. We're hearing some stuff from the campaign trail, but what you're not hearing about from the candidates, from the 2020 candidates, they're not talking about impeachment, right? This is not what the American public in Iowa, New Hampshire, and these early primary states, they have moved on from the Russian investigation. They have moved on from what Jerry Nadler wants to talk about and Adam Schiff want to talk about. Brett, do you think that these guys will get the hint up on Capitol Hill that America has moved on now that we finally heard from Robert Mueller?
No, I don't think. I think they're gonna. This is going to give them impetus to dig even harder and to say, let's rebuild this, let's reinvestigate this whole setup. I do not think Adam Schiff, and I do not think Cummings, and I do not think Waters, and I do not think Chairman Nadler, any of them are going to want to move on down the road here. Impeachment was what they promised their base, their red meat base, back in the campaign, and darn it, that's what they want to try to get to. Michael, here's the question for you, though. Do you expect you may be hearing from any of these committees in the wake of Mueller essentially shutting down that avenue? And I'm assuming by him shutting down his avenue, he's also shutting it down for the other investigators and attorneys to come in and testify. Do you expect that you may be called by one of these committees to give testimony as they try to, reinvent the wheel here at the committee level?
Well, I think they're focused 100%, even though they'd like us all to believe otherwise. I think the House Democrats are focused 100% on impeachment. I think it's what John McLaughlin used to call a metaphysical certitude, a 10 out of 10, that they're going to do this. And it's just going to happen. They've been planning it ever since November 9th, 2016, and this is the way it's going to go. We should all just go ahead and fess up to that and realize that impeachment is coming. I also think this Hamlet Act that's being played by the 2020 candidates on the Democrat primary side is also going to resolve itself, because once the House moves in the inevitable direction of a suicidal impeachment, by the way, because they'll pay dearly at the polls, I think the 2020 candidates will come trotting right along. Yeah,
the term that comes to mind when you think about this kind of inevitability towards impeachment is like a kamikaze mission for a lot of these folks. And Nancy Pelosi, she's trying her best to wave them off, but she does not seem able to hold back. Just wanted to kind of focus real quickly, Michael, on a couple of things that Robert Mueller did say. He obviously felt the need to defend the work of his investigators. He said there at the end that the investigation was fair and independent, and it was done with the highest level of integrity. Considering you were questioned in the process of this investigation, I wanted to get your reaction to what he said about the way the investigation was conducted.
I fully expected him to defend the integrity and ability of his team. I mean, no matter what you think of Robert Mueller and his team, and I have had some negative thoughts about them, and I continue to question their capacities as they pursue Roger Stone. This is probably the greatest array of investigatory talent our country has put together in a long, long time. And if they can't find the conspiracy to collude with the Russians or proof of obstruction, then nobody's going to. I mean, we have to all. I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
And I got to tell you, I also think that Director Mueller inherited a pig in a poke here. I don't think he really got what was, he ended up receiving what was being sold to him when they asked him to be special counsel. He immediately had to clear a couple of people, fire him. Strzok and Page were fired almost immediately upon him inheriting this stuff. I think he's glad to be rid of this challenge and would really like to move on with his life as well.
Oh, you could tell. It almost feels like this statement, Brett, was like, you know, 1,000,000 pounds were lifted off his shoulder. It seemed like just a terrible assignment for the guy's last mission as a government servant.
Yeah, I mean, he availed himself.
Listen,
well,
I agree with you 100%.
This is all we hear of it.
It's like a catch-22.
Listen, when he came out, he seemed very nervous when he came out. He a little hesitant at first, but then got the wind into his sails. Let me ask Michael Caputo a quick question here. Michael, in terms of your political prognostication, what does this now do for the Barr and the Durham and the Horowitz component looking into the origins of this? Does this give them blue skies moving forward to get down to what was the origin point of all of this mess with the collusion?
Well, I don't have really great faith in what the Inspector General Horowitz was doing, or what they said, what's his name, Huber out in Salt Lake was doing, because my attorney, a former U.S. attorney, former New York Attorney General Dennis Vacco, tried to offer evidence to both of those investigations of what we believe were FBI informant approaches to me, and neither of those investigations even, you know, returned our calls or even answered the letters. Contacted them twice. You know, I think our whole investigation of the investigators is really now just starting. We might get a little bit of, something out of the investigator, out of the Inspector General on an individual, but he's not there. He's not going to indict the system at the Department of Justice. And I think this is a systemic problem that's been going on for quite some time. What we see coming out of Durham and Barr, I think, will be original investigatory findings.
Yeah, and there's guys like Chuck Grassley, too, and Lindsey Graham who are promising to follow through with those investigations on the Senate level, too. We'll see if they hold true to their word on that. You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest-growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems, or go to NewsmaxTV.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.